Hi, my name is Matthew Garcia. This is my informative speech. Unfortunately, I do not have the audience live here in my apartment because unfortunately my wife is sick and I don't want to bring anybody in here. However, I do have everybody over a conference call on my computer that's connected to my TV. I am screen sharing so they can see the visual aids and they are all present and can hear me. I'm going to go ahead and have the audience introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm behind the camera.
Tony?
Hi, Prony Salinas.
Hi, I'm Maddie Leonard.
And I'm Sarah Sandoval.
Hey, my name is Mr. Chow.
Hi, Frank Munoz.
Hi, Natalie Morgan.
Hi, Tatiana Navarro.
Hi, Kaylin Jardino.
Hello, I'm Joshua.
All right, perfect. I have 10 people in my audience and we're gonna go ahead and start the presentation. Okay. So is it possible to make up an eating disorder? Could you have made up your anxiety or your depression? Do people self-injure themselves for attention? The simple answer is yes. There are people out there who self-injure themselves in hopes that somebody notices. There are people out there that perform eating disorder behaviors in hopes that people notice and want to help. Just because your brain may have made it up doesn't mean that your mental illness, your upset, or your pain is any less valid. The basic need for caring, loving from another human is part of what makes us human. So today we're going to be talking about specifically anorexia nervosa. The first thing that we're going to talk about are some eating disorder behaviors that may not be anorexia but can still be harmful. Next, we're going to talk about the clinical criteria to be diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. The last thing we're going to talk about are some things that you might find on a physical exam when you're screening a patient with anorexia nervosa. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is eating disorder behaviors. All right, some of these are so common that we don't even think about it. The first one is fear of being fat, fear of gaining weight, and taking actions to control your weight. This is so common today. Everybody is searching different diets and different ways to lose weight, to control their weight, but where it can become harmful is if you're uneducated. You can be participating in a diet that could harm you before you even know it. Another common one that is missed is loss of appetite. There are plenty of reasons people can have a loss of appetite. There are diets out there that restrict people from eating for hours a day. This can become habit forming and it can be harmful. A loss of appetite can also be related to other mental illnesses, such as depression. So now we're going to talk about the clinical criteria to be diagnosed for anorexia nervosa. The first one is going to be restriction of energy intake and low body weight in relation to the patient's age, sex, developmental trajectory, and their physical health. Now, there are people out there who are underweight according to medical standards. That doesn't make them anorexic. The next thing that we're going to discuss is an intense fear of becoming fat, even though the patient is already underweight. The two key factors there is that it's an intense fear, not just a concern, and the patient is already underweight. The next one is body dysmorphia, or you tell the patient they're underweight, but when they look in the mirror, they see something else. They don't take the seriousness, the medical seriousness of being underweight. That information, that criteria was obtained from an article by Dr. Miller on Up to Date. Now, I also read another article on Up to Date from Dr. Yeager, where he provides a series of questions to help us screen patients who are possibly anorexic. He uses an acronym called SCOFF. All right, the first one is, have you ever made yourself purposely sick because you felt uncomfortably full? The next one, have you ever felt like you've had a loss of control over your eating habits, your diet, or your weight? The next one, have you lost equal to or more than 1 stone, 14 pounds in the last 3 months? The next one is, have you had an intense fear of gaining weight or being fat despite already being underweight? And the last one, do you feel like food dominates your life? Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the physical exam, some things that you might see while screening one of these patients. The first thing that you're going to notice is they're going to have a very low body mass index, BMI, specifically 17.5% or lower. The next thing that you're obviously going to notice is a low body weight. But what you're looking for is somebody who's 85% below what their normal body weight should be. The next thing you're going to notice on the abdominal exam is their abdomen may be distended, and they're going to have hypoactive bowel sounds. Normal bowel sounds should be about every 15 seconds. When you have an anorexic patient, you might notice it may take 18 to 20 seconds or even longer. You might have some dermatology issues. They will have dry, scaly skin because their body's not getting the nutrition that it needs. You're going to notice a low blood pressure and a low heart rate. All right, again, the heart is not getting the nutrition that it needs to work properly. You might notice alopecia, hair loss. Their hair may feel brittle to the touch, or it might be thinning out a lot. You can see up on the screen that there are much more signs and symptoms, but the ones I covered here today are some of the more common ones that you'll see. You might also notice that your patient is hypothermic. They'll have a low body temperature. Their core temperature may even reach 95 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Okay, and patients can appear this way and still be stable. It doesn't mean that they're not in harm's way. So mainly what we covered today is some eating disorder habits or behaviors that may not be anorexia, but can still be harmful. You can participate in eating disorder behaviors and not have an eating disorder and still harm yourself. Next, we went over the clinical criteria to be diagnosed for anorexia nervosa. There is a strict criteria that needs to be met, but you do not need to meet this criteria to get treatment or to get help. The last thing we went over is the more common signs and symptoms that you would see on a physical exam with a patient with anorexia nervosa. If you want more information on this subject, I highly recommend a film To the Bone. I have it up on the screen right here. It goes more into detail about their day-to-day life and treatment and things such as that. That's all I have for today. Thank you for your time.